Okay. So here's what I got. I can open the chat up again too, because let's see which ones you want me to do. So let's look at progress check 2. And progress check 2 looks like this. Let's see if that pulls it up. I'll do it this way. Okay, so question number 2. So that's this one right here. So I'm gonna do my best to draw in here. Okay, so this is saying, okay, which of the following could be the x-coordinate of a point at which the line tangent to the graph of f is parallel to the secant line, which is just a line through these 2 points. So let me draw that line and see what that looks like. So if I draw that line between this point right here and this point right here. And we kind of look at, which one it is. Hopefully you kind of say, well, it makes sense that this is the secant line through this one, or the tangent line through that one. Up here, this is the tangent line through that point. The point T, the secant line might be something like that, or the tangent line might be something like that. And point W, the tangent line might be something like that. So if you look at it, which is the only one that makes sense based on this, based on we're looking for a parallel, probably just this one right here. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? Hopefully. That's question number 2. So that's the idea behind the mean value theorem, that the line in between, the secant line, the red line, is equal to the derivative, which I think is, let's make sure I did that right. I hopefully got the right answer on that. Come on. There you go. So it's that one. Okay. I am going to clear my annotations unless you have questions. Well, either way, I clear them, so whatever. Okay, so let's look at question. On the test, just so you know, on the test, there are, I think, 11 questions, but 14 points. So 11 questions, but 14 points. The question, I also had a question, if we have yet to do, can we leave? Yes, you can leave, and then you just, if you want to, you just might not get the answers until you, if I don't do the ones that you want. So let's look at question number 3. So question number 3 looks like this. Which one could satisfy the mean value theorem? So let me scroll down here to where I can get to a blank page, something like this. If I look at this, the mean value theorem, what I need to figure out is, when is f prime equal to f of 3 pi over 2 minus f of pi over 2 divided by 3 pi over 2 minus pi over 2. That's what I got to figure out. So I gotta kind of do the work that involves there. This is a pretty this is more difficult than what I put on the test. The concept is the same, but the actual process of doing this is maybe a little bit more extensive than what I expect you to do on the test. But in the end, f prime of x on this one, if f of x is equal to the sine of x over 2, f prime of x is cosine x over 2 times 1/2. So that's the derivative. So we need to figure out when 1/2 cosine x over 2 is equal to, now I got to do some work on this. I got to do the sine of 3 pi over 2 divided by 2 minus the sine of pi over 2 divided by 2 divided by, this should just be pi. So something like that, I think. Any questions on that? On what I did there? I'm looking in the chat and I don't see any questions. So now I got to do the work. What I'm going to find out is the numerator, because we're talking about pi, or we're talking about sine. I think what I'm going to find out is that I'm going to jump to the conclusion that this is 0 over pi. Now, you might go, well, how did you come up with that? You could actually do the calculations on it, but you're going to find that that's the case on that, I think, that you're going to get 0. So what I need to figure out is, when is the cosine x over 2 equal to 0? So what I would do is I would do the following, is I would look at it and say, okay, the cosine graph looks like this. And specifically, we're talking about here to here. I think that's what I'm looking for. Let me make sure that let me make sure I did that right. Sine of 3 pi over 2 is, I gotta make sure I did that right. Hold on, because I'm missing something in my brain and I don't know what it is. So let me look. So let me go back up to here and do this part right here again. So I need to look at the sine of 3 pi minus the sine of pi, I think. Is that right? No, wait, the sine of 3 pi over 4 and the sine of pi over 4. I think that's what I'm looking at. So if I look at the sine of 3 pi over 4 and pi over 4, I'm looking at here and here, so that is 0. Okay, so that was right, that's 0. Okay, so I'm still have 1/2 cosine x over 2 is equal to 0. So I still have to figure out, when is the cosine x over 2 equal to 0. I know that the cosine graph is equal to 0 right here at pi over 2, and right here at 3 pi over 2. Hopefully that makes sense to you, that's when the cosine, this is the cosine x, or I'll just make it the cosine of u so you don't get confused about it. Well, so what that means is that if I do the cosine of pi over 2, that equals 0, and the cosine of 3 pi over 2 also equals 0. So in my equation, x over 2 has to equal pi over 2, and x over 2 has to equal 3 pi over 2. Well, so in this side, that means x equals pi. This side, x equals 3 pi. This one can't be it because that's not in our window. Notice our window only goes to 3 pi over 2. So here is our answer, and that's D. Any questions on that? Okay. Let me go to question number 4. So we got a twice differentiable function. So notice that if g prime of x is greater than 0, it means g is increasing. Is everybody okay with that, according to the chart? Stop me if your silence I'll take as you understand that. And g double prime of x greater than 0 means g is concave up. So what we have is we have a graph that looks like this. Okay, so we know that g kind of looks like that on some level. If we know right here that g of 4 is equal to 18, and we know g of 5 is equal, or sorry, g of 4 is equal to 12. Sorry, g of 4 is equal to 12. G of 5 is equal to 18. And we're supposed to figure out what g of 6 is equal to. Well, notice that this is going up by 4. So what that means is that in order to figure out what g of 18 is, if this were a linear function and had no concavity, then g of 6 would go up by exactly 4 as well.
By 6, not 4.
By 6, sorry, by 6. So this is going up by 6. So if this were linear, so if we had a linear function, if we knew that this was linear, then g of 6 would equal 24. Does that make sense? Does everybody understand that? If it was linear, g of 6 would be 24. But it's not linear. In fact, it's actually concave up also. So the only answer that would make sense is g of 6 could only be 27 out of these choices, because it's A, increasing, and B, not linear because it's concave up because of the information that we got from the idea that behind the chart. So that's why hopefully when I click this, it tells me it's 27. Any questions on that? So that's 2, 3, and 4. Anything else you want me to do? 3 was probably harder than what I would ask of you. I don't know that 4 is harder than what I would ask of you based on what I did on here. I'll do more if you want, but you'd have to ask. Anything else?
Did you say you had a recording of the one on Progress Check 1 on Schoology?
Yes, it is. It's in the chat. It's in the chat right above your first comment to everybody. It's also just, I can drop it in again. I don't know if
I see it. Thank you.
that's it, right there. And I think I went over yesterday for 7th hour. I think I went over, I think I went over almost every problem yesterday, with the exception of like maybe 2. But you probably don't have questions on those 2. 7th hour generally has a few more questions than you guys do. Well, if you don't have any more questions, you're free to go. If you have more questions, stay on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alquist.
Thanks, Nick.